What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Meet the Critters podcast. It is episode 43. I am Kyle.
And I'm Joe.
And we got a fun one today. I have a really good feeling about this one. It's going to be fun, for sure.
Yeah.
We have Jim Phenes from Hitching Post Meats. Come on up, Jim. Did I say your last name right? I should have prepped that one first.
That's all right. It's Phenes. Phenes.
Oh,
You're
okay.
close. You're
All
close.
right,
Close.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Well, my audience isn't shocked.
Yeah. Trust me, my whole life it's been getting butchered. I mean, it's a hard last name unless you know how to pronounce it. So,
No pun intended.
yeah, no big deal.
Well, I mean, all three of us have issues with our last names, so.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, everyone tries to do the French pronunciation of my name. And everyone goes, "Oh, Perot?" Like, it's Peralt. There's a T. I don't care. I live in the middle of the woods. I unalive animals. You put the T there. Fine.
Oh boy.
So, Jim, who are you?
Well, Jim Phenes, owner of Hitching Post Meats. We've been in business, actual legit business, for I think about 6.5, 7 years now. But I've been in the meat business my whole life, ever since I can remember. My dad had a venison processing shop, and he was a meat cutter for Surefine years ago. So he was actually just a box beef. Wow, that years ago in the 70s, they used to bring quarters, halves, hanging carcass into the store. So my father, exactly. So that's how he learned to cooler break was, right there at the store. And then he kind of passed that down to me. So that's how I learned to break animals from the carcass. But yeah, he taught me how to do that. But we were mainly just a venison processing shop for years. He cut meat, like you said, during the day. So he didn't really want to get in kind of to what I'm into now. He kind of will do some deer seasonal and that's it. But we used to do, it was me, my father, my mom, and usually my sister-in-law sometimes. So 4 people, and we were doing over 200 deer a season. So, and that was nights after school, nights after work, weekends, which was kind of annoying as a kid when you wanted to go hunt, because my hunting days were opening day for about an hour, and then Thanksgiving Day for about 2 hours. There's your season.
I always say drop off is no earlier than 10:30. So I know I at least have a couple hours after daylight to get out there.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to do this year. We noticed a lot of our people weren't dropping off deer until at least 10 in the morning anyway.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
When we cut deer, now I dropped way back on deer last year just because I kind of wanted to glean a lot of the farmers that were really looking for butchers that they couldn't take their pigs or their beef anywhere else because of all the shops that shut down and just do deer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a ton of beef and pork business last deer season, and we did a handful of deer. We just mainly cut beef and pork, which I kind of liked, because you guys know what processing deer is like. It's messy. It's no fun.
Yeah. Gets chaotic real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I limited it. I basically just do from opening day of rifle 2 weeks. Like, I only take in deer for 2 weeks. I think this year we might be switching it up a little bit, because I think we're working with a couple guides. So they run bears with dogs. So they're, again, not a guarantee, but with our bear population and how much they hunt, it's as close to a guarantee as it is. And he's like, yeah, we're looking to pull like 50 bears out of the woods. And I'm like, if you can bring all of them, I'll save the time for you to, like, I won't book pigs or beef in that time, and I will only do this, but you have to keep me stocked up. Like, that's a gamble.
Yeah.
That's a gamble and a half.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you get worried when you're relying on the hunters to produce. Like, this year was not a great deer season in our area.
No.
Right.
From what I heard, I didn't get a chance to hunt at all. And Tyler
Jim,
asked.
located. Oh,
I didn't put my glasses on. What's
no,
it say?
no worries.
He was asking where you're located at.
Oh, Canisteo, well, town of Howard, but Canisteo, New York address.
Yep. Tyler's family I think it's what his father-in-law has a camp. I can't remember the town, but it's actually pretty close to you, to be honest with you. It's not too far, closer than where I am. So Tyler's down in PA.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, we'd like to. I mean, hopefully this coming deer season, I'm sure Joe's told you that we're in the process of becoming USDA.
Right.
And at that point, once the expansion's finished, the 2 coolers existing now, this is my big plan. If I can find the right crew, right? Find the right crew of guys to cut venison in the evening, 4 to 10, 4, whatever, however long they want to work. Have my other crew, my steady crew that's working for me now, cut beef and pork during the day. I mean, that would be ideal. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. But that'd be really good if that could happen.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking something similar. We have the reefer truck we utilize right now for our cooler until we get the coolers put in. That is actually getting sent out next week. The compressor started leaking on me. So I'm cleaning it out in the next couple of days, and then we're sending that up to Buffalo and having the compressor completely rebuilt. We're having the diesel motor gone through, pretty much a whole thing's going through, and then we're going to keep that for deer season is the game plan.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the big thing with me is I have to pick one or the other. I have one walk-in, and it's basically 6 by 14. So I'm not mixing much.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We really, I think just our basic community knows, but the beginning of last week, we had a meeting with our business partner, and it's a little slow this time of year for us being brand new, don't have our name out there yet.
Yeah, that's tough.
Decided to have the reefer trailer sent out and serviced. The skid steer we're utilizing, that's getting sent out to be serviced. So we jungled around a couple of our dates that we had. The farmers were really good about working with us. And we jumped full bore into our next edition already. We got...
Well, good for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we decided, I think, what was it, Wednesday night that we were going to do it. Thursday morning, or it was Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, they showed up with the dozer and excavator. That afternoon, we started dirt work. Then Friday, a couple guys showed up. We started framing in up above the office and utility room. There's going to be a bathroom with shower in there. We're putting an extra office in, so if we do go USDA, it's already here. And a small storage spot. We think we're going to put spices up there just to keep them so it's dry out of the way. And then we're going out the back of our building, 44 foot wide by 50 foot long. And that's going to house the slaughter floor, 2 coolers, and a new walk-in freezer, and like a small, nice hallway, pretty much.
Yeah,
so,
good.
It got hectic real quick.
Bring on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's exactly.
It's all fake anyway. Who cares?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Who's keeping track?
Who's keeping track anymore?
But that's with the new addition and stuff. It's going to make it more efficient, obviously. And then I'm hoping to possibly be able to hire on at least a part-time guy that can do burger packaging, kind of take all that, labeling bags, all the little stuff that it just eats away at your time during the day. And then you look around, you're like, that's all I got done. Like,
what did I do today?
You can do a lot more. The breakdown is, people don't realize, once you know the breakdown in the cuts and where bones and stuff are, it's really not that bad. It's all the little things, packaging, filling vacuum seal bags, labeling, running the grinder and doing all that little stuff. You get someone that can.
Then you got to go back and clean all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that's
spend more
you know,
time
that's,
cleaning the shop than I do cutting, I think.
Oh, for
oh
sure.
yeah, but I mean, and you
Label
have to,
on the
right?
bag
I mean,
is wrong.
Mhm.
that's where you have to be. I mean, you gotta, how many times, you know, it feels really good when a customer walks in and says, boy, this doesn't even smell like a butcher shop. Thanks.
Right? That's
That's what I want to hear.
That's the
Yeah.
best. And that's what you strive for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
get that all the time where it's like I have people walk in where I'll be like, it is an absolute mess in here, but it's an
Yep.
absolute mess in here because I've been working all day
Yeah.
and this person's picking up
Right.
and doing something. And I'm like, I'm so sorry it's a mess in here. And they're like, it's a butcher shop.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
Two, this is not bad at all. Because it's usually, again, especially during deer season. Deer seasons, it's chaos. And everyone's like,
Yeah.
you're still the shop
Yeah.
that I've ever
Yeah.
been to. So you're fine.
Kyle talks
Yeah. I've heard a
all the
lot of
time
horror
about,
stories.
yeah,
Well,
Kyle
that-
talks all the time about the pop-up venison cutters, and in our area too.
Oh
we
yeah.
have those, and then you get the customers that come in and they're like kind of him and hawing about the price, and then they're like, oh, this is clean, the packaging's nice. It's like, yeah, because this is what we do for a living. We don't just throw it in our garage and, you know, have
Right.
some plywood laid down that's soaked in deer blood after 2 weeks. And
Right.
Stack them up like cordwood and let them set. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The aging. That's part of the aging process. You don't do that.
Yeah. Sure it is.
yeah,
We had a guy around here that one year he gave everyone their meat back in, you know, the bags you get deli meat in at the grocery store. He
Oh
got
my
his
goodness.
hands on a bunch of those, and that's what he was giving everyone their deer back as, like back straps and deli bags.
Wow.
And
Unbelievable.
I only know that because I got a bunch of his customers the next year, and I opened the freezer and they looked in and they're like, "Oh my god, it's frozen and it's cryovac and labeled." Like,
it's
Yeah.
vacuum sealed,
Yeah.
labeled. What? Like, where's all the hair that's supposed to be on it?
right?
We had one person locally that was putting it in the plastic grocery shopping bags before our lovely local government, well, not local governments, but, you know, New York State outlawed those plastic shopping bags for a while, and you couldn't get them.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of the pop-up deer guys, if they're watching this, are going to hate what I have to say next. But we're in the food service.
Yes.
We're in the food service, right? I don't care if it's venison or if it's beef. I'm processing this animal for you to consume.
Mhm.
And some of these shops, I think there needs to be maybe not as heavy a regulations as they have on us. There needs to be some kind of regulation.
Yeah.
There does. I mean, some of these shops are just horrible. I mean, I've heard horror stories of blocks that are black, of, you know, animals in the cut room. Like, it's just not healthy.
Yeah.
No,
And
it's
that's,
not.
and that's
I mean, you
everywhere.
figure in our deer seasons, I don't know exactly how yours has been, Kyle. I mean, this year obviously has been pretty mild, but lately you cannot count on cold weather during rifle season the last
God, no.
handful of years. And these guys that don't have units to cool the carcasses or put carcasses in, they got them stacked up outside in the heat, and then their tables aren't clean because they just keep putting them through and they don't clean up in between. There's bacterial growth, and whoever's at the end of that line is getting shafted on their product of quality anyway. You know, that they're
Right.
getting
And their
back.
cut room was their garage that they had to push the Trans Am out 2 weeks ago so they could fit everything in. So it's just like, again, yeah, like I said, and it's everywhere too, because I have those stories up here. Like it sucks, but that's where also there needs to be the education for other, like, people bringing their deer to those people going, that's not how that's supposed to be. Like, check this out. Or like doing the best you can for your customers so that his buddy goes, why did you even go to him? Go to him next year. Like that kind of stuff.
Yep, exactly.
I was one of those pop-up venison guys, but I cleaned every night. I worked at the butcher shop. I came home and I cut 2 deer every night. That's what I allotted myself time. Usually it was between midnight and 1 o'clock. And then I cleaned. It was like 2 a.m. by the time I got out of there. But if you don't do that and the weather's not, I was in an unheated carport. So it's either I was fighting with, it was too warm, but I built that cooler trailer that I still have. So I always had the cooler trailer before I even started. And that was a lifesaver because a lot of times I'd get a text, hey, I got a deer. Can I drop it off? Yeah, throw it in the trailer. It's already running. I'll take care of it as soon as I get home. And I got pretty lucky. But it's just the regulations. I agree with Jim. The regulations aren't there. And I get it. It's nice having that extra income, but you got to do it right. You're doing this service for people.
Right. I mean,
you're putting a product out for another person. Do what you want with your animals.
Yeah, I mean, how many? Right, exactly. How many times have you heard customers come in or just in general, right? You're talking to a few guys or whatever, and they're like, I don't eat venison anymore. It's just too gamey. Well, maybe you took it to the wrong guy, right?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many customers I've had now that go, my wife doesn't eat venison. Now she does. Like,
exactly.
And that I wear that as a badge of honor of just like, absolutely perfect. Where it's like, they look at the package and go, there's no silver skin on this. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Like,
of course there's no silver skin on it. You hired me to cut up your deer. And it's like, that's what I explain to everybody. Because the amount of people that look at me when I'm like, all right, let's fill out your cut sheet. And they go, I've never had to fill out a cut sheet. I'm like, well, now we are.
Yeah, something like that exists. Yeah.
Like, I tell them, like, I do this for a living. Like, I don't just randomly do this. Like, in fact, I'm probably losing money because I'm doing this kind of thing. Like, April will be my second full year of being in business for myself. So I'm still juggling stuff, trying to figure it all out where it's like, is it even worth it to do deer with me solo? Because I do everything from bullet to freezer. And it's like, is it worth it? Like, or is it worth it to bring in a cow and 2 pigs and be able to make a decent paycheck at the end of the week and not be covered in deer hair and ticks out there till ticks, all of it. You're always working longer on the deer nights because people are coming in randomly and you're having to get stuff into the shop. You got to run out. Like, how many times I've had to be like, all right, we're sitting down for dinner. All right, someone just pulled in, or like one of those things, and it's there are days where especially in the middle of deer season, where I just go, why am I even doing this? Like, I could have done a beef and 2 pigs and made just as much money this week.
And I'll tell you, it was because I discussed this with my wife. I was like, this was last year. I said, I don't think I want to cut as many deer this year, and we have this many animals booked. And I think we can do just as good with beef and pork. Let's give it a shot. And we did.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like we cut 150 deer, but we didn't. We cut beef and pork, right? So that, I mean, that gave me way more time to hunt, more family time, because you don't have people pulling in the middle of the night to drop a deer off. So it worked out.
Yeah. There's a part of me that's like, I do it because I enjoy it. Because again, I am cutting beef and pork so much. It is fun to do deer. Like, there is that rush you get where it's like, it's deer season. Let's go. Like, so
in the very beginning,
I get my 2 weeks of that, and I'm like, cool, I'm done. Like, I got that out of my system.
Yeah, I think that's how we're going to structure it. We're going to try it this year, as long as everything goes good with the new edition, which it should be plenty done and utilized by then. We're going to shut down for 2 weeks like you're doing, Kyle. I'm going to book the bare minimum beef, I think, the next couple weeks and see how it goes with deer season. If we're still real busy, I'll keep just a couple because our deer season's actually, it's pretty long now. They got the extended week. It goes from usually the weekend before Thanksgiving all the way through middle of December. They got 4 or 5 days break, and then there's another week from Christmas to New Year's.
January 1st.
I always like to keep like a couple regulars in the loop of just like, hey, just to let you know, there might be a date that pops up within these 2 weeks if deer are slow. Like, because usually, again, for us up here, the hunting's crap. I mean, it's not crap, but it's not great. So we'll get a rush the first 2 days, and then it's just trickle for the rest of the 2 weeks. And I'm like, one, it's nice because there are times where I do get to do more projects when it slows down, because that's what it usually turns into to me. It turns into like not a vacation, but like, all right, I haven't been able to do all of this stuff because I have been slammed in the shop with beef and pork. So, all right, I've got a dough and a spike in there. I can bust those out tomorrow morning. Let me focus on this for the rest of the day, kind of thing. And then, of course, 3 deer get dropped off and I screw myself. But
yeah,
it's the gamble you play.
That's the thing. It's just not knowing. There's no, you don't know. They just come in randomly, and then you get caught up, and you're like, because you're in, go, 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 and you find, like this year I was lucky, and my stepbrother was able to help and stuff. But then I got to the point where it got so slow. I'm like, we weren't set up at the time to do large animals yet. We were still working on all that stuff. We pushed to get open for deer season just to get the income coming in and kind of start building the customer base, showing people what we can do. And then we got to the point where we're like, luckily we still have projects to do to keep myself busy, but
yeah, we kind of did the same thing, but with deer, right? Like we scheduled beef and pork through, and I had a certain group of people that I said that I'll guarantee I'll cut your deer, right? So that was the handful of deer that we did, like friends, family, and customers that were with me from day one that would absolutely just lose it if I quit cutting deer. So I did theirs,
Yeah.
And that worked out good.
Well, that's super important because you do get your regulars. But the other thing that's super important, like especially if you are a new shop, like you're in your first, second year getting stuff done, cut up deer. Like it is an easy revenue source. Like for the time that there is, if you're good, people will come to you. It's mostly cash.
But, and you don't need to advertise.
Yeah, you don't need to advertise. But it's one of those things. You're also meeting all of these people who might not have known you, and all of a sudden, oh, well, actually, my butcher retired, and I haven't found a good guy yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my buddy brought me here. Can I get a business card? And all of a sudden, like, again, it is marketing. So that's where it's hard, too. You don't want to turn people away because it's like, I don't know who you are. You could be the reason that I'm booked for the next month. Like,
right. And it kind of goes both ways too, right? Like I've met a few of I'd say a lot of my beef customers through deer.
Yeah.
And I've also met a lot of my deer customers through processing beef. Yeah. So they do kind of go hand in hand in a way,
That's what's happening to me right now. And I'm also like in our spot here, we have a lot of hunting camps because we got the few, chunks of state woods and private properties. So I got a lot of customers that they were saying the deer processors up by Buffalo and Rochester had started shutting down, which I was surprised by. So I picked up a lot of people from up in the city, but that also returned into helping me out with starting this customer and farmer list that I'm doing at the shop and trying to connect people. Cause now I'm starting to, it's not super crazy right now, but the more I do it, I'm building a customer bases up by the city for the farmers that don't have the marketing skills or social media to market, which in returns obviously pays me dividends in getting slaughter dates booked. And it's a little extra legwork, but being new and starting out, I'm trying to do anything I can to work with the customers and the farmers. I'm being flexible on the dates I'm slaughtering right now. I'm offering, on the farm slaughters right now and trying to do everything I can to soak in as much work and get our product and our name out there.
Right. That's exactly what I did. And I think, anybody in their first year or two, that's what you have to do, right? You have to be willing to go out there and grind and work and pull those 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning days and know that it's going to pay off because you have to. It's that simple.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it has to pay off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I jumped all in it this year with we got lucky. We had our partner as our sole investor, but it went from, originally when I first started. So anybody that doesn't know, I met Jim through, I can't remember exactly what group it was on Facebook, but we both were on I think it was a small meat processor group. I reached out to you when I seen that you were in Western New York when you're posting some of your stuff you were doing. And then we decided we were going to do the shop. So I got lucky because a lot of butchers are finicky, I noticed, with helping other people out trying to get into it.
It's so dumb.
And Jim was awesome. I mean, he had us come out. He gave us all the information we needed. He got me in contact with the people for the information. I had no luck up until the point of contacting him on finding who I needed to get a hold of and how you even go about on starting a butcher shop in the first place. So I got contacts from Jim. He had me tour his shop. And pretty much anything I needed help with, I'll message him and ask him questions now.
That's awesome.
So it's nice having that.
Oh, yeah. Sure. And I mean, that's how everybody should be, in my opinion, right? Like I've always said, there's way too many animals out there to have to worry about competition. There is. I mean, I don't know what these guys, what they're going to get out of it by not sharing information. I don't get it.
The one thing I did notice, and how I kind of feel, it's my personal opinion, is the guys that don't want to give out for information, they're not doing something right, so they're worried about losing their customers.
Right.
If you're doing everything good and you're putting out a good quality product, you got good customer service, you're doing everything possible, yeah, you might lose customers depending on, prices or, a hiccup or something. But in general, once you build a customer base and you're good to your customers, and they're going to become loyal customers, and they're not going to want to go anywhere else. So the guys that are reluctant to share information, I think that's what it is they're not confident in their abilities or their crew's abilities, or they know they're doing something a little shady, which I've done a few videos on recently. Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, there's enough work to go around for everybody, and it balances out in the long run, and it's good for farmers. So I'm trying to be the same way as Jim, to where eventually when I get enough understanding of everything, and I want to be able to help people trying to get into the business.
Yeah. And that's a really rewarding payoff for me too. Like I've got one meat cutter full time now. He was a box cutter, and to bring him in and teach him how to break stuff down. And he was already a phenomenal meat cutter. Yep. The great thing about him is now he can break a beef down from the cooler and do all sorts of fancy stuff that he did in the store. Yeah. Right. So that's just huge. And and then I've got another guy that's been working with me right now. He's part-time. He's my butcher, kind of, right? He helps me butcher. But he's also learning the trade as far as cutting goes. But that's a real rewarding thing to bring people in to the business and see them blossom, right? See them grow.
Yeah, that's what I don't get about it. Because I have that feeling when I'm showing someone something, or I'm showing someone how to do it. It's half the reason I have a YouTube channel.
I was just going to say that.
Just I love showing people this because no one gets to see it. I'm not shy of talking about that. On all of these social media apps, everything we do gets kind of pushed down, because it's that's the dirty little secret that no one wants to talk about.
Right.
And when it does get out there, people love it. They're like, oh, all right, this is pretty cool. Or they hate it, and that's also funny. But it's I completely lost where I was going with that. But I had a point, I promise. Nope, that one's gone. Nope. Completely gone.
I think where I was heading with that too was I know you guys were talking earlier about Kyle, you're just by yourself right now. Yeah. And you're just chugging along, you're shooting them, skinning them, gutting them, quartering them, putting them in the cooler, cutting them, packaging, freeze them, out the door.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of really hard work. Same with Joe, right?
Yeah.
And I got to that point where I was I had people like, hey, can I do a beef this? Can I do? No, I can't right now because this is all I can do.
Right.
So in this business, I think there becomes a point where you're like, okay, I need to get a little bigger and I need to hire people.
Right.
It hurts because right now you're paying people. So there goes your income a little bit, that, you know, your profit goes down, but you have to, you know, in order to do more animals and in order to take a little bit of stress off of you, you have to do that,
You have to.
you
And
know?
it's like I've talked about it on here back and forth where it's like I'd love to hire someone, but also at the same time, I don't want to put all of that time and energy into someone that could turn around in 6 months and go, nah, I don't want to do this
Yeah.
anymore. Or I don't want to listen to your like. So in my head, I just go, well, fuck it. I'll just do it myself. Like,
Yeah.
I'll just get the work done. But I mean, I've definitely burned myself out with that, where it's just like, I can do another beef this week. I can fit that in because I don't want to lose the customer. And then the customer before them who was already booked, like I'm rushing through that one to get to this one. And it's now neither of the customers are getting the quality that I like to give because I'm rushing through. I'm up till midnight, like running around doing stuff. And between the farm and 2 kids under 5, there's no time in the day anyway. So, I mean, the freedom that the shop has given me to be able to regulate that in a way is fantastic, where I go, I know I can do this many cows and this many pigs this week, but I also still have to make sure I'm inside so my wife could take my daughter to dance class. And then also I need to go muck this out and build a new fence over here. Like, to be able to regulate that in a way it's the biggest freedom in the world. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I think we all deal with that too. Like go ahead, Joe.
No, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, as far as, you know, family and kids, I mean, that's always part of it too. And that's always it's a tough thing to kind of juggle, but we all have to do it. And it's kind of, we're blessed to be able to do it. Right. So.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, my kids have been on kill floor since they were 3 weeks old. Like they've been living it. I've got 2 butter knives in the shop that during deer season, I bring them in just because right now I'm hanging everything off the bucket of the tractor. And I'm like, I don't like being under this. I don't need a 5-year-old running around too. Yeah. So it's during deer season. I'm like, 1, cool, we're having a cool bonding experience. And 2, it's the weekend, your mom's working. So I have to go skin this deer out. So you're both coming out with me. Yeah. But it's, they've been in there since they were 3 weeks old. My oldest at this point has one of the best reverse grips I've ever seen on a knife. And she's sitting there trying to skin out the legs with a butter knife and getting it. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like,
teach them how to do it with a butter knife. When they're able to handle the sharp knife, they'll be skinning deer faster than you.
Exactly. That's right.
I'm also like, don't stab your sister. So here's a butter knife.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up, like, with all 3 of us, we know that with the employee thing, our line of business, it is very, very hard to line up someone that even wants to apply at a butcher shop, just because the mindset of today's, I say younger generation, me and Kyle aren't really that old, but you know, coming out of high school,
we're old souls.
Those kids don't really want to work to begin with, let alone in that kind of environment, you know, and people are so far removed from where their food comes from. They think, oh, that's disgusting, I could never. So when you do find that small group of people that'll even apply because they either want to work or they just need a paycheck, then you got the ones that are actually going to work and just work because they need the paycheck and they don't have that quality mindset.
They don't have
so now
drive.
You got, I mean, I explained it like this when I was talking to a guy that owns a restaurant. I said, here's our workforce. This is how many people you might get on an application. We'll say even cut that in half for you. You got this many people that are going to apply to be in the restaurant. Then you got this many people that are competent enough to keep, that are decent workers. And then you got maybe this many that are, you can leave them on their own after they're trained. And, I'm starting out at this point of finding people to hire. Yeah. And then by the time I'm all said and done, I might have one person I can rely on that's good. They're putting out the quality I expect, and I can rely on them to show up to work most of the time. Stuff happens, of course, but
And then
that's what I'm struggling with right now.
Right. And then sprinkle on top of that, you have to stand in a room with this person with nothing but your conversation for 8 hours. So you better really like this person, or that person better have a thick skin, because it's going to be a rough time. Like that's
well, thank goodness the one that the meat cutter that I have working full time for me. I mean, I don't usually get out there and get the cut with him because he cuts during the day. I still have a full time job, so
right.
I mean, I own the shop and kind of here's your cut sheet, go ahead and do it. But every once in a while, I'm fortunate enough to be able to go out there and work with him. And I will say, thank goodness we both have the same politics, because like you say, if you didn't, it'd be tough.
The percentage of chance of 3 usually men being in a completely white room standing in one spot, the percentage of politics coming up is 99.9%.
100%. Let's just be honest, right?
Like, it's going to come up at some point.
And even not like direct politics, but one way or another, local politics, what's going on with the government, just anything,
Right.
Yeah.
It's like
for sure.
Joe talked about it a bunch, where it's because, again, I came from a retail background, then went into managing retail stores, then went into whole animal at a USDA plant. And Joe was in a USDA plant, where it's the camaraderie of a cut room is either the greatest thing on the planet or the most dangerous tool that could ever be harnessed. Like, if you just want to get the meanest the meanest insults into a ball and just put it out into the earth, go into a meat room in, I don't know, October, when the pig run's going on, and it's like it's bad, but it's so much fun. Like, I miss it. I miss it so much. Like, just being completely solo here.
And if you want to catch the good ones, you got to go in right before lunch, where everybody knows that it's almost lunchtime and they're getting out of there for like a short break from everybody, and they're hungry, and it gets interesting usually right before lunch.
Oh, it's so fun. I miss it. I miss it so much. I was such an asshole. Oh, I love it. I'm like, you guys have to be here. They're paying you to be here. This is great.
Yeah. I never worked in a very large facility. Like I said, I worked with my father in his shop and whatever. And then you guys, I don't know, Joe's probably familiar with Bath Packing.
Yep.
You ever remember Bath Packing in Bath? Used to make really good hot dogs. I worked there for a while, but it was just me and 2 other cutters and someone wrapping. So it wasn't that, huge kind of bunch of guys in a cut room. So I guess you guys got lucky being able to do that.
It's so fun.
We'll have to ask Brian if he remembers Bath Packing. That's where he grew up.
All right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you got coming up in the shop? Like, so tell us about the USDA, like, going into that.
Yeah. So we decided, we were custom for a while, and there's a MPIRG grant that came up a couple years ago, and we were selected.
Nice.
Thank goodness I have a wonderful wife who is just absolutely phenomenal with writing. And she wrote this grant, and she was like, I don't know if it's good enough. Read it. And I was like, it blew me away. I go, this is good. This is really good. Are you
talking about me when you're doing that?
What's that?
You just looked at it and you're like, are you talking about me when you wrote this?
Exactly. Right? No, she did a phenomenal job. And so we were selected for that. And so we started on the project last year. But it was just super slow going, because we had an old barn that we basically turned into a slaughterhouse, right? And the basically the half of it we already did ourselves. So we refinished it all, put new floors in, and made it really nice. So the other half we're turning into the USDA part. But Unfortunately, the very good contractor that we had passed away last May. So we kind of lost him, and now we're trying to get some other contractors on board. And we applied for another grant. We're waiting on some, waiting on the answer on that.
Right.
Because unfortunately, with inflation, a $6,000 overhead door turned into a $12,000 overhead door. Price of concrete went up. I mean, everything just went through the roof. So we're not really at a standstill. We're still making a little bit of gain, and I'd say we're 75% done anyway. All of our concrete's finished, so that's done. The inside of the new kill floor is 100% other than an I-beam and rail. I've got my knock box in. I've got all my gates in, all my holding pens in. So basically, really all that's left is rail, the new 11 by 26 walk-in, the 8 by 8 freezer, and the cut room, and just electricity and heat and air conditioning. We're done. So we're getting there. We're hoping. Conservatively, I'd like to say by fall. I mean, I'd like to say the project will be done, maybe by August, and maybe we can get FSIS in here in the fall. I'm hoping. We'll see. I don't like to promise anybody anything, because that's another thing. I've got a lot of guys asking me, when are you going to be inspected? When are you going to be inspected? I'm waiting. Yep. I don't know. I'll tell you when we are. I guess.
You don't want to give them an answer, because as soon as you say even the fall, you're going to get flooded this fall with customers that you said maybe this fall. They're going to take that literally, and then they're going to be like, you told us the fall, you're going to, and they start freaking out. So, and I've had the same issue, because from the originally, our plan was custom, and then some things happened with our business partner, and we decided that we want to pursue USDA, but we're not sure. We're just getting into it. So I still have to do all the research, try to figure out what it's going to entail, the cost it's going to entail. So I can figure out how many animals I got to put through to make it worth having the USDA here.
Right.
And then, okay, if I need that many animals just for the USDA, how many employees do I need? Okay, well, if I have those employees, how many more animals do I have to put through to pay those employees? So there's a lot of logistics behind it that people don't understand. So we're just trying to, as we build, we're trying to, luckily I was trained in the USDA facility, so I've got a really good idea of what they're already looking for, but it was an older facility that was kind of grandfathered in. So I don't know a lot of the new rules and regulations. So I need to get on that before we by the end of next week, we're planning on having the gravel, the drains, and hopefully the poles done for the new addition. That's our goal anyway. If we get there or not, we'll see. We got a lot of dirt to dig out of that bank out back. And there's a lot. There's probably, just where the shop needs to go, I think there's probably 15 to 20 dump truck loads of dirt in just in that section. Then we're moving the whole bank up and around, because we decided that if we're going to have the equipment here, we might as well continue to clear, because we're fixing our driveway, because it's pretty steep and we're having issues with trucks and trailers getting in. And then eventually when we get, we've had a few deliveries where we had a semi and I had to unload them out on the road, which isn't a great spot. It's kind of on a hill. You can see both ways. That's why we put our driveway there. It's just not a good spot for traffic trying to go around us when we're unloading stuff. And so we got to get to the point where, so now we're pretty much the whole almost 2 acres we're sectioning off for the butcher shop is going to be utilized in one way or another.
Nice.
By the end of the year. So we're trying to fix driveway issues, get the new building done, and we probably won't have the interior finished for like the slaughter floor. We probably won't have it outfitted with the knock box and everything. I might just keep doing the kill out in the pens right now and bring them in through the garage door. But at least we'll be to the point where we can, get there. Because just the pens and stuff alone and concrete for the pens, I mean, right now with concrete prices and then steel and lumber trying to enclose them, you're probably between, a custom knock box, if you build it brand new or have someone custom make it brand new, you're anywhere from 10 to 20 grand just in the knock box, depending on who's doing it with the hydraulics or air or whatever. And then you got the holding pens and the concrete for all that. There's another say 50 grand on being conservative just in holding pens in the knockbox. Then you got the
Yeah,
rail
I've
system.
still got to do some work. I'm not happy with the knockbox that I mean, I bought mine used off another butcher that had it and didn't use it and doesn't kill anymore. I mean, it's fine for smaller cattle, but it doesn't. So basically, they walk in. It's got the really nice dropout floor, right? So you pull the handle, side lifts up, the floor drops out. Great. But what I don't like about it is that animal is still free to move its head, which I don't like. I mean, I would like. So I've got a buddy of mine who's going to come out. He's going to cut the front off. We're going to put a headlock in there.
Yeah.
So at least when they run through, they're going to think they're going to keep on going. Then we're going to lock them in. It's just, it makes things a lot more, it's safer, right? For everybody.
Yeah. And then with the USDA, they want to see like almost complete control. And even with a lot of these shops, like you look at Bearded Butcher setup and stuff, it locks them in this way and it locks them in this way.
Right.
And even with that, they could still twist their head and you can have a bad shot. But with the USDA, you get an inspector that can be a pain and you miss a shot, you're shut down for not just that day, for weeks. Now you're rescheduling. You got all the people's animals that are already in your shop. Hopefully it doesn't happen on the first one. You got everybody's animals sitting there waiting. So, you got to take every measure you can to make sure that doesn't happen and hope you have a good inspector that you can work with. If something, accidents happen, we've all missed.
Yeah.
It's in our profession. We don't like to. None of us like to.
No, it's awful.
Yeah. It's the worst thing ever. But it happens, and it just depends. Like I said, it depends on the inspector. Luckily, most inspectors that I've dealt with have been reasonable. I mean, they're good at their job.
At least a follow-up, right? At least a follow-up.
Yes. That's the thing is you got to make sure your guys are trained with, you got to be able to reload the gun fast and put them down fast and hope that they'll accept that. Right. You don't want to sit there and panic. I've seen guys do that where I've seen guns get wung across the kill floor because they couldn't get it reloaded. So they went for the backup gun, which was around the door. And, you can't have it. That
has to be a split second. I fucked up. Okay, don't panic. I need to fix this problem that I have now created.
ASAP.
Unfortunately created as soon as possible.
And that's the
and you've almost got to be way more calm on that follow-up than you did on the first one.
I never walk out to a slaughter with less than 2 rounds.
Yeah. No, never.
Always because I've got a single shot 410 and then I've got a Taurus Judge that I use as well. And it's like, nope, there's at least 3 in the Judge and there's a second shell in my hand if I'm using the 410. Because it's like, I've been in that situation where it's like, I got it. Bang. Stands right back up and looks at you. And it's like, oh my God, all the shells are in the truck. Crap. Like,
when right now I'm using my 22 mag for most. I mean, I take it with a grain of salt. I've got a bigger rifle for distance shots on farms, and I do plan on picking up a 410 for backup gun. But when we were using the 22 mag at the facility I worked at, it was a single shot. But the guy that trained me, you always keep an extra shell in your teeth because it's right there. You can reload real quick and you pull it out and pop it in. That's just the way I was trained. So it works good because it flows. You're already up there. So if you're looking at it and it doesn't drop, you can pull back, grab that shell and put it in the gun. And we practiced it, before. And, it's stressful training a new guy, even if they're a hunter, because they don't realize how small that window is on a beef or a pig. I mean, in that shop, we use a stunner for pigs. And I would like to have some kind of stunner eventually. But right now I use I shoot the pigs too, just because that's what I have.
Right.
So.
Pigs are the worst.
Pigs can be horrible.
I hear that in my nightmares.
Yeah. Thank goodness I have a customer of mine built me. Basically it was a hog crate, right? But he built it all out of steel. It's got doors on both ends. So I actually use that for my knocking pen now for pigs.
Oh,
If somebody brings a pig live, I got a pig board that my guy that works with me now, that butchers with me, he built for me. We'll just slide the pig board over, neck them down, run them into that crate. They're contained, pop them, open the door, stick them. It works out perfect. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I use a squeeze gate, and I can use it by myself, dependent on the size of the animal and the passion of that animal. If it's like, even if it's a smaller pig, if it starts moving, I can't hold it, and it's like, all right, this isn't fun. So I recently just got a headlock. A customer gave me one. She's like, I'm never going to use this. Like, here, just have it. I'm like, thank you. So we're getting brackets set up to refigure my corral system and just, again, have it easier to have a headlock. Because right now I'm usually dropping everything in the trailers. And it's like, if the customer just does need to dash or doesn't want to be there for it, I can drop them in the corral. But again, my corral's not big, but when you're aiming at a spot this big, that corral might as well be an acre, like wherever you're trying to like get the shots from. It's
even with my pens that we just put up, the temporary ones, those are 10 by 10, but I had that Galloway dropped off last weekend and she was nuts, and she's running circles around that 10 by 10 pen, and she's putting her head up trying to get out and get through the gate or through the bars. And it's like, it's all right. You need to, when you get an animal they're that worked up, and that you want to let them settle down, because it does, affect the meat, I believe.
Right.
Yep.
But at the same time, my pens aren't built to hold animals like that long term. No. So if they get dropped off and like that one was last Saturday at 4:30 in the afternoon, and I had to be on here, and I'm like, well, I mean, I have to do it. It is what it is, because she's not staying in that pen overnight.
No,
it's not happening. And so, but it is. When you can't get them squeezed, or at least keep them so they're straight up and down, straight this way, and they can move. It's tough. But when you do make good shots on something like that, it boosts your confidence until you miss a shot. And then it takes all those good shots and knocks it right off underneath you.
Yeah, talking about the floor dropping out from under you. That just brings you down to like, I'm just a sad little boy. Why am I doing this?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I've gotten to the point now where because the Jonathan's his name, the kid I'm training now, because he is going to be my butcher during the day when we are USDA. I handed him the gun 3 months ago, and I said, here you go. You're going to start killing them. And it was kind of my way out, really, too, because honestly, I've killed so many animals. I'm done killing them. Like, I'll do it if I have to. And but I just,
it takes from you, for sure.
Yeah, but when you're running a shop and you're planning on growing and hiring people, you're not always going to be there. Something could happen. What if you get injured, or they get injured, or just even outside of work? Not saying they're going to get injured at work, but life happens, and if you don't have backup, like contingency plans, that's one thing that we did really good at that shop that I was trained at, is everybody did every job. Even if I absolutely hated skinning pigs when I started. It was the worst thing that I learned. Everything else, I soaked it all in. I was, running a cutting room by myself after 4 months, because the lead guy had vacation already planned after I got hired. I loved it. When I started skinning pigs, I was slow. I was still learning how to sharpen a knife properly. So you get an edge on a knife, that hide's coming out looking like Freddy Krueger skinned that pig.
Yeah, it's either going through the hide or cutting up the bacons, right?
Yeah. And in our inspector, she was great. Don't get me wrong. I really liked working with her, and she was thorough at her job, and she was just a good person, and she was willing to work with you if you're doing your job right. But man, she gave me so much hell. Oh, Joe's skin. We're going to be here all afternoon. Joe's skinning pigs. Like, they just, how it is in a butcher shop. They're just hammering you, and you're getting frustrated, and you're trying to do your best. But eventually, once you get the hang of it, it's like, this isn't that hard. Like, why did I fight with you for so long? But it takes time and repetition. And when you're in a small shop, when you're not, a lot of these big slaughterhouses, they have multiple slaughter days and they're doing it all day long. That shop, it was 1 day a week, half a day. That's all we were slaughtering. So it's not like I had 5 days in a week to practice. So I had a whole seven days before I came back to it. And then they'd give me the last pig. And that's how I did for a couple months. And then finally I got to the point where I was fast enough to do the last 2 pigs, and you build up. But having that flow and having your workers where they can step into any position, and they might not be as good as the next guy, but at least they know what's going on. So if something happens, they can step up, take over the reins, and at least finish the day out until you figure out a different game plan for the rest of the week or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
I always made it a point to be that person. That would be like, I'll go wherever, I'll do anything. It's like, that's what happened in the USDA shop. I got hired as a cutter, but they would need help on the packing side, and I would volunteer. I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Everyone else is like, oh God, we don't want to go over and pack. I'm like, yeah, man, I've worked retail my whole life. This is nothing new. And then it's like, oh, you make link sausage? Oh, perfect. You're running the grinder. And then that progressed to, hey, so-and-so's out slick. You're working the kill floor today. And that, again, it is like that, like, oh my God, we're moving up. Like, and to learn all that is just crazy. So again, it would be, if you have the more you know, the more you're worth. So the more you can jump around and fill those gaps, the more you're going to gain from that in knowledge alone, but like progressing at the business that you're working at.
I think that's really valuable too, right? Like all 3 of us have done every aspect of the meat trade, right? We've done everything where, I've run into some business owners where I was like, oh, so what'd you do before? How do you, I don't know nothing about this stuff. I bought the business, or I own the business. I'm the owner, which is great. And that's fine. If you know how to run that business and you could make a profit, but I think it's so valuable to know every single thing from shooting them to sending them out the door.
Well, it's valuable to our customers because it's like, because also all of us here are also producers. Like, we all raise livestock, so we understand what goes into all of those animals as well. So that I don't want to know what Rachel said. I'm in the middle of a point. We know what goes into all those animals. So whether it's our animal we're putting through the shop or their animal, we understand. So we take as much or all the love and everything we can put in that animal to make sure it's as good quality product as possible. We get it from every aspect of it.
Yep. And I think that's what we're having issues with, feedback that I'm getting from a lot of people being a new shop about other larger shops that are around is, their kids are taking over and they don't have that. They didn't have to build the customer base or put their all into it. So they're disconnected from their customers and they might not know all the aspects. And I was the same way as you, Kyle. Like when I went into it, once I learned that I actually love doing this line of work, I was open for anything. So, and luckily I'm really mechanically inclined and I know how to figure stuff out and fix stuff. And the background in robotics was great because I did a little bit of tooling work and I knew stuff about sensors and how to know if they're out or not. So that put me into the position where I was the only one that could not only do maintenance on the equipment, but I was fixing equipment, which gave me the experience to, we bought used equipment when we opened up. So I could go through, troubleshoot, figure out, and put it together myself without having to send it out to a specialty place. Not everything, like I've got lucky and I've got friends that do HVAC or used to do commercial HVAC. He's retired now. I've had tons of trouble with the freezer. It's figured out now, but if I didn't have that, there's no way I would have figured that out on my own. But it saved me a ton of money being able to tinker and fix stuff on my own and having the knowledge from the old shop of being able to do that and know what to look for.
Right. Yeah. All good stuff.
Yeah. Best job I ever had.
Yep.
Well, we're up at an hour here. So, Jim, that was bad. Jim, where can everyone find you?
Well, I mean, you can find me. I mean, my business is on. I'm not on Google or anything like that, but
Oh,
you
I
could
know.
just
I know. Just like
type
the
in
shop,
Hitching Post
stuff like that,
Meats.
if you want to plug the shop.
Yeah, but I'm on Macbeth Road in Canisteo, New York.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. You want me to just throw my number up there? I don't know.
No, you don't have to. I mean,
Okay.
whatever you want. I mean,
Yeah, we're good.
all
We're
right.
good. They can find me. They can find me on the internet. Just type in Hitching Post Meats. I'm there somewhere, and there's
Perfect.
usually a number there anyway. So
Perfect.
Yep.
yeah. All right, guys. Nice chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, where can everyone find you?
Oh, same place as always. I'm here with Kyle every Saturday. I'll never forget to plug this podcast, even if I'm on here.
It makes me laugh every time.
Yeah. Here with Kyle every Saturday night. YouTube at Blakesley Acres, Facebook at Blakesley Acres. I mean, if you're local to Western New York and you want to find it, we have a Facebook page for the butcher shop, Bare Bones Butchering. I'm on Kyle's Telegram group, and I'm in a couple others. It's pretty much it for me.
Perfect. And I am everywhere at Backwoods Butcher 603. So that is YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm trying to push out a bunch more lives on TikTok. We did a couple pigs this week. We're doing a beef next week. I'm going to be slicing some bacon and hams on there. Again, people don't get to see that often. So all of a sudden it scrolls across their TikTok and they're like, oh, wow. So we're gaining some ground there. And I also think I'm going to be debating a vegan on there at some point.
Oh boy,
soon.
that'll be fun.
I know. I'm pretty excited.
Fun.
I'm pretty excited.
Almost might be worth getting a TikTok to watch that one.
Right?
I'm telling you. But yeah, so that is where you can find me. And Jim, it was amazing having you on. This was super fun. We will definitely have to have you on again at some point.
Yeah, I'd would love to come back. Yeah, maybe give you an update on the shop, show you where we're at, and yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys again.
It was a fun one. And again, everybody watching, thank you so much.
See ya.
What happened?